All right, so today we're going deep on Billy Bat.
Oh, yeah.
This is a manga that'll really make you think about the stories we tell and the stories we believe.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, and we're taking some inspiration from an episode of the Strange Serenity podcast.
I love that show.
Me too. And they had some really thought-provoking points about how this comic book story, sort of mirrors our own world.
For sure.
So to set things up, Billy Bat starts with this Japanese-American cartoonist in the 1940s.
Kevin Yamagata.
Yeah, Kevin Yamagata. And he thinks he's come up with this, genius idea, a detective bat named Billy Bat.
Classic.
Right. But then things get kind of crazy because he starts to suspect that his whole idea might be plagiarized.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and this sends him on a journey to Japan, and that's where things get really, really interesting.
Things get really meta.
Yeah, because the symbol of Billy Bat, like the actual bat drawing, it starts appearing throughout history in the manga.
Right, like it's almost like this hidden hand guiding events from the shadows.
Exactly. That's what really hooked me, too, is the story goes from this simple mystery to this, massive epic that mixes history and conspiracy and even metaphysics.
It's like, whoa, how much of our own history is shaped by things we don't even realize?
That's a great question, and that's actually one of the biggest parallels that the podcast episode points out.
The power of stories.
Yes. Stories have this incredible power to shape the world around us.
It's true.
In Billy Bat, this symbol, it's not just a drawing. It's this force that influences wars, inspires religions.
Starts cults.
Yeah. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And it makes you think, how often does that happen in real life?
Right. All the time.
I think so, too.
Think about, political ideologies, how they spread, or, social movements, how they gain momentum.
It's all driven by these narratives, by stories that people connect with, and then they feel like they need to act.
Exactly. And the podcast makes some interesting connections to, real-world examples.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, they talk about the Bible.
Oh, interesting.
And they talk about 1984 by George Orwell.
Oh, wow.
And these are stories that have shaped cultures, inspired revolutions, even led to conflicts.
It really makes you think.
It does. And what's kind of scary is how that idea plays out in our world now with the internet and social media.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a story, a meme, a video. Anything can go viral so fast and reach millions of people.
It's crazy.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, are we all living in what the podcast calls a Billy Bat-esque reality?
Whoa.
Right.
I like that Billy Bat-esque reality.
Good one.
It really captures this feeling that the lines between fiction and reality are getting blurry.
Totally. We're surrounded by all these carefully crafted narratives that are shaping our opinions, influencing how we see the world.
And sometimes it's so hard to tell what's real and what's been manipulated.
It's true. It's almost like a conspiracy theory in itself.
Oh, yeah.
This idea that there are these unseen forces shaping the stories we see every day.
Like who's pulling the strings?
Exactly.
It's a question we all want to know.
Well, and speaking of conspiracies, that's another huge theme in Billy Bat.
Oh, for sure.
And it feels incredibly relevant now more than ever.
Yeah, how so?
Well, just like we have QAnon or even flat earthers.
Yeah.
Billy Bat has secret societies and all these shadowy figures working behind the scenes.
Oh, wow. So the manga is kind of saying that our obsession with conspiracies is nothing new. It's like a part of human history.
I think so, yeah. In a way, it's like Billy Bat is saying we've always been fascinated by these ideas.
I mean, we love a good mystery, right?
We do. But what I find really fascinating is that Billy Bat doesn't just present these conspiracies as something to be feared or worshipped.
It takes a different approach.
Yeah, it's more critical. It shows how getting caught up in these grand narratives can actually be dangerous.
Dangerous how? Now?
Oh, you can lead people astray, create chaos and confusion, and ultimately prevent them from seeing the truth.
It's like the more we try to make sense of things, the further away we get from the truth.
Yeah, it's like the manga saying, be careful what you believe.
Don't fall for the easy answer.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the manga's holding up this mirror,
Yeah.
to our need to find easy answers.
To grab onto any story that promises to explain the world.
Even if it's totally made up.
Right. Even if it doesn't make sense.
You find yourself asking this question,
What is it?
Is it just a human thing? This need to believe in something, even if it's not true?
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's kind of deep.
It is deep.
And Billy Bat really digs into those questions.
Oh, totally.
It pushes you, the reader, to think about your own beliefs.
To examine what stories you're holding on to.
It's we all have our own biases, right?
Of course we all do.
Our own ideas about how the world works.
And sometimes those things can really blind us.
Totally. It's like we miss the bigger picture.
It's like that saying, you know,
What's that?
we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
It's like our experience is what we believe. It all colors how we see reality.
That's so true. And Billy Bat takes it even further.
How so?
Well, it suggests that those personal stories, those narratives we tell ourselves,
About who we are, where we fit in,
yeah, they can be just as powerful
if not more powerful.
than those big, like, sweeping narratives we were talking
Well,
about.
how does it try to explain everything?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, whoa.
I know.
It makes me think about how we use stories to cope with trauma or difficult experiences.
Oh, yeah.
It's like our minds trying to make sense of chaos.
To gain back some control.
Yeah, like by creating a narrative.
A story that makes us feel better.
But is that always a good thing?
Well, that's a great question, isn't it?
It is.
It shows just how much we need meaning in our lives.
Like even when things are really tough,
Exactly. Even when things are uncertain,
we want to find some order in all the chaos.
we want to find some meaning
But like Billy Badge shows, it's so important to be careful.
with the stories we tell ourselves.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
are they actually helping us heal? Or are they holding us back?
That's the big question.
So it's not enough to just be critical of the stories out there.
The ones we read or watch or hear.
We also have to pay attention to the stories inside us.
The ones we create about our own lives.
Yes. And that brings us to another big theme in Billy Bad.
Let's hear it.
The role of the artist
Ooh,
and the responsibility that comes with the power of storytelling.
that's a heavy one.
It is Kevin Yamagata, the main character.
The cartoonist.
He's not just drawing. He's searching for truth.
He wants his work to reflect the real world.
Even the messy parts.
Even the uncomfortable truths.
Yeah, and that brings up all these questions
About what?
about artistic responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Like if stories can actually shape reality,
If they can change how people think and act.
then shouldn't creators think about the consequences?
Whoa, so you're saying artists should be held accountable?
I know, it's a tough question.
It is a tough one.
It makes you think about all the debates we have now
About what?
about censorship, cancel culture, artistic freedom.
Oh, yeah, those are big ones.
It's like, where's the line between protecting people from harmful content?
And letting artists express themselves.
Exactly. It's a balancing act.
And Billy Bat really makes you confront that.
It doesn't give easy answers.
More questions.
It does, though, explore those tensions
That's pretty what?
between artistic expression and social responsibility.
Like, what's the artist's duty to society?
Right. One thing that really struck me about Billy Bat,
What's that?
it's how ambiguous it is.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, like it's full of twists and turns, shifting perspectives, unreliable narrators.
You never know who to trust.
Exactly. You're never quite sure what to believe.
It keeps you guessing.
And that's what makes it so compelling.
Oh, yeah.
It challenges you to think critically
To question everything.
and to be open to different interpretations.
It's like the manga itself is this Billy Bat-esque reality.
Totally. Where truth and fiction are constantly blurring.
That's so meta.
It is. You know, hearing you talk about all this,
Yeah.
it makes me think Billy Bat's message is so relevant now.
Because why?
Well, because we're like drowning in information.
No, yeah.
Everywhere.
And it's hard to know what's real.
Exactly. It's harder than ever to separate truth from lies.
I think that's a really good point.
And Billy Bat is like this cautionary tale.
Oh, yeah.
It's saying, hey, be careful what you consume.
Don't just believe everything you see.
Don't be a passive consumer of information.
Be active. Question things. Analyze. Seek out different viewpoints.
Yeah, it's like Billy Bat is like shaking us awake. You know,
Yeah.
like wake up. Don't just take everything at face value.
Right.
Like dig a little deeper. Think critically.
Be skeptical.
Yeah, and watch out for those easy answers, you know?
The ones that try to wrap everything up in a neat little bow.
Exactly. The ones that try to oversimplify things.
Ones that prey on our, like, fears and biases.
Totally. So how do we do that?
How do we what?
Like, how do we actually navigate all this?
Navigate what?
This crazy world of information overload
Oh, yeah. Where do we even start?
with all these narratives competing for our attention.
It can feel like you're drowning.
It totally can.
So how do we not get swept away by the current?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, the first step is just being aware.
Aware of what?
Aware that you're being bombarded with stories all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah, like it's everywhere.
It's in the news. It's on social media.
It's in advertising. It's even in the conversations we have.
Like, we can't escape it.
We really can't. So once you realize that,
Then what?
then you can start asking some critical questions.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Like, who's telling this story?
Good one.
And what's their
And
agenda?
like, what are they trying to get me to believing?
Exactly. And why? Who benefits from me believing this?
That's a good one.
And how does the story fit into the bigger picture?
Yeah, like, what am I missing?
What other perspectives are there?
It's about being curious
Oh, absolutely.
and not taking things for granted.
Questioning your assumptions, being open to different viewpoints.
It's a lot of work.
It is, but it's so worth it.
It makes me think about something the Strange Serenity host said.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
They said, the stories we tell shape the world we live in.
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is. It's like we're not just consuming stories.
We're creating them, too.
Yeah, and spreading them.
Every time we share something online,
Or tell a story to a friend.
we're adding to this massive web of narrative.
It's interconnected, you know?
It really is. And it makes me think about those choices we make.
The stories we choose to amplify.
The messages we put out into the world.
They have real consequences.
They really do.
So it's not enough to just think about what we're reading or watching,
We have to think about what we're sharing
what we're contributing to.
and the impact it might have.
It's about being responsible,
Responsible storytellers.
sharing information in a thoughtful way.
Promoting narratives that are based on truth and empathy.
Yeah, and a desire to understand the world.
All the complexities,
Yeah.
all the nuances.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But you know what?
Right.
Talking about all this
Yeah?
makes me realize we actually have a lot of power. Yeah, like we might feel overwhelmed by all the information.
Like we're drowning in it.
But we're not powerless.
We can choose.
We can choose what we believe, what we question, what we share.
We can be the curators of our own narratives.
Exactly. And the more we do that,
The more we think critically and have these conversations,
the better equipped we'll be to handle this Billy Bat-esque reality.
and maybe even shape it for the better.
Oh, totally. Like, imagine a world where truth and empathy win out.
A world where we understand each other better?
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too. Well, this has been a really amazing conversation.
I know, I've learned so much.
Me too. I feel like my mind is blown wide open.
Mine too. It's like Billy Bat is this wake-up call.
To be more mindful of the stories around us.
And the stories inside us.
So for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the information out there,
By the constant noise, the competing narratives,
just remember you have the power to choose.
you have the power to think for yourself.
Be critical, be curious, be
Yeah.
mindful.
And maybe even check out Billy Bat.
Yeah, see what you think.
It's a journey worth taking.
It really is, because the stories we tell, they shape the world we live in.
So let's choose those stories wisely.